What's up, guys? It's Yugioh here, and today I wanted to do something a little more simple and talk about. And whenever I was thinking about my videos, I realized that some of the people that watch my videos could not be aware of like how to play the game, this, that, and the other. So I kind of wanted to teach you guys how to play the game, and it's gonna be a lot longer of a video, or it's gonna be a little cringe, or I might mess some things up. But it's a learning experience for both me and you guys, and I think I will make this a progression series on like the different summoning mechanics and just like things in general. So just to get and just like recommendations as of right now. All right, so let's get started. To start off, I wanted to kind of go over the most important, in my opinion, the most important type of card, which is the monsters, which are these little brown ones. Now, these are effect monsters. There's obviously monsters without effects, which are these vanillas, and they are what go into your main monster zone, which is these first 5 here. Now, monsters are very weird. You can summon them in attack position, or there is a defense position like this. Now, the weird thing about summoning is if you want to summon it face up, you'll have to put it in attack position, because that's the only. But if you want to normal summon it in defense position, it cannot go in face up. It has to go in face down defense position. Now, the reason why some people might want to put it in attack position is so that they can attack, which is something that's pretty important that I will explain later, but it has to do with these points down here. Okay. So, monsters. Next up, I wanted to talk about spell cards. Now, spell cards also play a very important part in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And depending on the type of spell that you use, could mean a lot gameplay wise. So there's these spell cards are these little greenish blue cards, and there's different types. There's regulars, which don't have a little symbol up here. There's quick blades, which have a little lightning bolt up here. There's equip spells that have a little plus sign right here. And you have field spells, which have this little compass. And then there are continuous spells, which have this little infinity symbol on it. Now, spell cards are very important in the game, and there are tons of different ways you can use them, and it's just a lot of fun to use. The next card I want to go over is, sorry, we're making dinner downstairs, so something was getting cooked, but that's enough about that. The next card is the last card I want to teach you guys about today, which is trap cards. Now, trap cards are not able to be activated during your turn. And there are 3 different types of trap cards. There's regular trap cards, which don't have any symbol up here. There's continuous trap cards, which have a little like arrow. And then there's also the continuous trap cards, which has a little infinity. Now, in case you didn't notice already, the spell and trap cards go in this row, other than field spells, which go into the field card zone. Now, as of right now, I'm not going to explain these monster zones yet. That will be in a future video. And yeah, that'll be in a future video where I explain some cards from the extra deck. But there are some solid monsters in the main deck that could. There are some solid decks that could work without an extra deck, such as a fan favorite, which is Monarchs. Now, obviously, Monarchs is not the best deck. It has held its status, though, as a very powerful engine. And I even played it in one of locals with it once. But it is a very fun deck, and I highly recommend using it to start off. It doesn't have to be the complicated version, but Monarch Stun is a great way to learn how to play. Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna just I'm gonna explain some of the mechanics and talk about how each spell can be used. The first one is, I already explained summoning with monsters. You can summon them in attack or summon them in face down defense position. The only time that you can summon them face up in defense position if it is considered a special summon. Now, there's an iconic card that kind of helps explain it, called Monster Reborn, that will summon a monster from either player's graveyard, and you can choose attack position or defense position. Either is your choice. Or you can summon them in attack position. Now, obviously monsters go in these zones, these 5 zones. Spell and trap cards will go in the back row, or your spell and trap card zones. Now, spells and traps are very different. Traps, you will have to play them face down. And wait, spell cards you can activate whenever you want on your turn. Now, obviously, trap cards are obviously traps. And I will explain more about traps in a moment. Spell cards have different effects depending on what you're using. Like this old school card called Legendary Sword. A warrior type equipped with this card increases its attack and defense by 300 points. Now, something I haven't mentioned is cards have different types, which is the warrior, which is down here, and then attributes, which is this. There are about 20 different types of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But there's only 7 different attributes, 6 main ones that you'll be focusing on. And those attributes are light, dark, fire, water, earth, and wind. The 7th one is just for the 3 Egyptian god cards, which if you are a fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, you would recognize. Now, obviously, this is not a... This is a new experience and something that will be hard to understand. So whenever you start off playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'd recommend playing GOAT format, which is, I believe, 2006 Yu-Gi-Oh! And before. Quick water. And now we will move on to trap cards. Trap cards are a little different. So how traps will work is you will have to play them face down, or the term we use is called setting it. And it'll have to stay face down until the start of your opponent's turn. Once the start of your opponent's turn is, depending on if there is a requirement, like in this card known as Dimension Wall, if you want to read it, you can only activate it when your opponent declares an attack. So long as it doesn't have requirements, you can activate it whenever. Just like such as this card called Light Force Sword. Basically, it will take 1 card out of your opponent's hand, and then it will be face down for about 4 turns. And your opponent will not be able to use it. Now that I've kind of explained what trap cards do, I think the next part would be to explain the battle mechanic and how basically you will win or lose your games. So the battle mechanic is a lot more simple. You'll want two monsters out on the field. Let's say you have this card fighting against this card. How it would work is, depending on the position of each monster, will determine who takes damage and who could take damage, if they take damage, and which monster is destroyed. So if you look closely, this Liquid Beast has 950 attack points, and this Fiend Mega Cyber has 2,200. So theoretically, if both monsters were in attack position and my Fiend Mega Cyber would attack the Liquid Beast, the difference between the two monsters' attack points would be taken to the owner as damage. So because the Liquid Beast is weaker than my Fiend Mega Cyber, my opponent will be the one taking damage. And that will come to 1,250 points of damage to my opponent. Now, if my opponent's monster is in defense position and I attack, defense position is safe. Even though my opponent only has 800 defense, there will be no damage dealt to my opponents due to it being in defense position, even though my monster's attack points is much larger than my Liquid Beast defense. But if it were the other way around, and this Liquid Beast with only 950 attacks my Fiend Mega Cyber with 1,200 defense points, then since my monster's defense points is greater than my opponent's monster's attack points, the difference would be dealt to my opponent as damage. So in this case, it's whoever has the least amount of points loses, and they take damage for it. Now, when your monster is in defense position, it is unable to attack. And if, per se, my opponent uses the Liquid Beast with 950 and attacks my Fiend Mega Cyber, which is in attack position, my opponent's monster dies and gets sent to the graveyard, and they will take the damage. If both monsters are in defense position, nothing can happen because neither of them should be able to attack. Now that we've got the basics out of the way, we're going to talk about how to summon these bigger monsters, because obviously you cannot summon them normally like you can with a regular monster. So, and what helps with that is these stars. These stars actually play a very important role in modern and in old school Yu-Gi-Oh, because the amount of stars usually determines their power level. So let's say I want to summon my Fiend Mega Cyber. Because it is level 6, I will need to tribute, because that is just a really high level. Now, tributes are complicated depending on what level your monster is. So if you want to summon a level 5 or level 6 monster, you'll have to tribute one monster. If you want to summon a level 7 or level 8 monster, such as Garnecia Elephantess, which is level 7, I will have to send 2 monsters from my field to the graveyard to summon it. Now, tribute summons are counting as your normal summon. So you will want to be careful on what you do and do not do when it comes to summoning your monsters. Now, not all monsters are just plain boring monsters. Some of them have effects. And that allows you to either use them from the hand, or when they're on the field, you can use their effect as well. And as I've said before, the easiest deck to win, or the easiest deck to pilot after watching this video, in my opinion, would be the Monarch deck. Monarchs are simply no extra deck and are basically old school Yu-Gi-Oh! And force you to play regularly. With that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will make another video for you guys next time. Peace out.